Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 89 of Nostalgia Talk. I'm James, and oddly enough, so is my guest, James McCauley.
Woohoo! Hello, James.
Hello, James. Believe it or not, this is not the first time that has ever happened that my guest has been named James.
It is a common name, that's for sure. A common kingly name.
I actually read online that it's the most common boy's name in the world, I think.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, it's very kingly. King James,
Yeah.
kings. Yeah.
As we're all seeing with basketball, King James.
That's right. Very, very true. Very true.
Now, for anybody who doesn't know, James McCauley, I'm not referring to myself. I'm referring to the guest. James McCauley is a character actor who you guys might know best as rival chef Leonard Stevenson on the Disney Channel series That's So Raven, as well as on various episodes of other shows such as Modern Family, Two Broke Girls, Casey Undercover, Malcolm in the Middle, According to Jim, uh, and many others.
Multiple others.
Oh
Very true.
yeah, you've definitely. He's one of those guys that if you saw him on one show and then you see him on the next show, it's like, oh, it's that guy.
Who's that guy? Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's begin with how did you become interested in acting?
Oh, wow. Way back when, I just loved TV and film. What I loved about TV and film was how it transported me away from what I was going through, my everyday life. And I would really be just on the TV. Back in my day, you had to switch channels like this. You had to turn the knob. But I would be so close and I'd be turning the knob and I would just be transfixed. And then I saw Ian McKellen do acting Shakespeare once, and he had nothing around him. There was no stage, there were no lights, there was nothing. It was just him doing Shakespeare, and I was transported as well. I'm like, how the heck is he doing this? That's incredible. And then I did a play my senior year of high school, and I got a laugh. Oh, James, when you get a laugh, it just hooked me. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to audition for theater schools. It is what I dream of being. I was actually on a track to be a lawyer. And I was like, well, what do I like about the law? And what I liked about it, I would go into courtrooms and see people, cases being argued, was when the lawyer got up and tried to convince the jury that he was right and this client was innocent or guilty. And I was like, all right, what do I dream of being? There's a question. What do I dream of being? And I was like, I want to do that for other people, create this distraction, laughter, humor, feeling, anything that would make people feel or maybe get them away from the lives that they don't want to be in at that moment. So that's what, and then I went to acting school, auditioned for a bunch of schools, got into almost every one of them,
Oh
and
wow,
chose SUNY. Yeah, chose SUNY at Purchase.
good for you.
Yeah.
So did you do like plays while you were at university?
Yes, you mostly did plays. I trained in the theater,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also a very good film school at SUNY Purchase. And so you would do short films and you would do auditions. And yeah, it was mostly theater that I did. And that's an incredible gift is to be trained in theater because you get to be trained in all the things that you need for TV and film, but you get to do it in front of a live studio audience, which is amazing.
It's funny as you were talking about getting a laugh when you were doing school plays and
Yeah.
for you that was like, okay, this is it. I
Ooh.
remember when I was in elementary school, I used to do school plays. I do more behind the scenes stuff now. Like I
Mhm.
have done set decoration and prop
Yeah,
handling.
yeah, yeah,
I've done
yeah.
a little bit of camera stuff. I've done sound. I've done voiceover and puppeteering for
Yes, I
stuff
see your
I've worked
Mac
on.
Daddy mic right there. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Right?
And when I did a school play, my friends and I were talking about this not too long ago. I did a school play. I think I was like 11, and one of my friends put it best when she had said that if like a set piece fell, I just went ahead like that was part of the show.
That's funny. That's great. Improv, right?
Mhm.
Nothing distracted you. That's good.
So, do you remember after doing theater school? Do you remember your first ever professional gig?
Oh, that's a great question. First ever professional gig. I don't remember what it was. It was so long ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't remember. I just remember going in after this theater school. It's 4 years of theater school, and you do a performance in New York City. It was called a consortium of six different schools: North Carolina School of the Arts, SUNY Purchase, other schools like that. And they would do a performance in front of agents. and casting directors and producers, and you're like, I'm gonna get it. And a lot of times, what would happen is people would get a role right after that. They would go, "Oh my God, I saw you in that performance. I want to sign you as an agent, or I want to give you a role in a movie." Edie Falco, notoriously, she went to my school. I know Edie, and she got something out of that, which was I was like, "Oh my God, she got a movie right out of that." And I went and I did it, and crickets. Nobody called me. Nobody rang my phone. Nobody sent me
Oh
anything.
crap.
Nothing, nothing. And they don't teach you at school how to deal with failure, quote unquote failure. Where other friends of mine got agents right out of that performance and everything. I was like, and I got nothing. I was like, forget it. You know what? I got to do this on my own then, right? I can't count on this. So I just blasted everybody with headshots and resumes. Just everybody who was there, I sent them headshots or resumes. And I got a couple of bites and I got my first agent out of that.
Good for
Which
you.
was, yeah, it was super cool. Super cool.
So, a lot of people in like my age group would, of course, know you best as Leonard Stevenson, who is Victor Baxter's rival.
Yes. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. So a lot of people would know you best as Leonard Stevenson.
Yes. Yes. Chelsea. Yes.
Who of course was Victor Baxter's rival chef on That's So Raven.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you got to be on a couple of episodes of that show as opposed to just one.
I got to be on a couple episodes, which was so cool. Uh, and then I also got to be on a show. I don't know if you remember this show, Corey in the House. Do you remember Corey in the House?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and not only did I get on That So Raven, but then they picked up that show, and I got to be reprise that role in that show too, which was really cool. It was so fun. It was great. And the thing I love about sitcoms, the thing I love most about sitcoms is, remember I was telling you I was trained in the theater, right?
Mhm.
And you get to interact with a live audience. And in sitcoms, mostly you have a live audience there as you're filming the TV show. There are some shows with canned audience, they put the laugh track in afterwards. They usually do that now, pretty much for the most part, all the time.
Mhm.
But when you do sitcoms, you get the energy of the audience right there, which is so cool. And even if it's not the audience, let's say they do put in the canned, laughter afterwards. You've got the director, the producers, the studio, the writers, like everybody's there giving you that energy, which is incredible instant feedback. And the great thing about that show was everybody was so behind everybody else. And all you're trying to do there is find the funny. What's funny about this? What could be more funny about this? Oh, let's try it this way. Let's try it that way. It was so great and so creative. And I really, with Rondell, we connected just right away. And it was so much fun. It was just a lot of fun to do.
So was that show? I've never actually seen a lot of behind the scenes of That's So Raven,
Mhm.
but I do know that there are some various episodes of shows on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon that are shot in front of a live audience. Some aren't. Uh, was any of your stuff shot in front of a live
That
audience?
one was not the first incarnations of it. Yes, were shot in front of a live studio audience.
Okay.
The last one, I don't know if I told you, but I reprised my role again on Raven's Home just
Yeah,
last
I was
year.
just about to bring that one up.
Yeah. So that one was not shot in front of a live studio audience. Once COVID came in, mostly the live studio audiences went away.
Oh, I
But
didn't think
yes,
about that.
yeah. But yes, that was shot in front of a live studio audience, and a couple other shows I did. A sitcom that got picked up for me that brought me out to LA Wednesday, 9:30, 8:30 Central. That was shot in front of a live studio audience, and that was just it was an incredible time. But yeah, that kind of energy was there. And even when it wasn't, like on Raven's Home, again, it was the director, the producers, the writers, everybody's there pulling for you, right? They all want to find the funny. What's more funny about this? Oh, that's great. Let's do that. So it
Hmm.
was really a fun time.
And it's great that because like I saw the first few seasons of Raven's Home when it was brand new because it's like, oh, this
Hmm.
is a big piece of my childhood.
Yes.
And having watched it, I was like, okay, the characters are the same, but the idea isn't exactly the same. And I kind of understand why, because like I'm thinking, of course, about iCarly. When that got rebooted, it was more
Yes.
for adults who grew up with
Right.
the original show. Raven's
Exactly.
Home, like if you like, I feel like kids wouldn't really understand a lot of what they're talking about if they were to talk about the old show. But
Right.
then when they retooled it and brought back the San Francisco set and brought back Victor as a main character and kind of
Yep.
reestablished everybody from the old show, including yourself. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of like a nice little throwback. So, and I was very happy to see you back as well.
Yeah, it was really good. I got a lot of love online for when I came back, and a lot of memes coming out with me entering back when I did that, That's So Raven all those years ago, and me entering on Raven's home, kind of the same kind of Victor Baxter, that
Hello,
hello,
Victor.
Victor. Exactly. And I did it the same, and they memed it. And it was great. It was just so much fun. And I agree with you. I think they found their feet. They say it in the business. Oh, they found their feet after that first incarnation of Raven's Home, and they really found it when they did exactly what you saw. When they went back to San Francisco, brought Victor back, and yeah, I thought there was a really good changes actually.
So your character on the show was, of course, as I said, Victor's rival chef, who
Hmm.
they got to know each other in cooking school, and Leonard
Yes.
always would I don't want to say would do better than Victor, but he would
You can say it. You could say
okay,
it.
yeah,
Do better.
he would do a little bit better in cooking school
Yes.
than Victor would, and rather than just say, "Oh, congratulations," he'd be like,
Rub it in the face.
of course,
Exactly.
then there's that episode where he opens up his own restaurant, the Hill Grill, which if you're gonna copy
Yes.
somebody, at least be more subtle about it. Come on.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it was really fun. And especially in that first episode of That's So Raven, we got to do flashbacks into cooking school. Do you remember that?
I
And
do,
they put
yeah.
this big long wig on me. It was hysterical. And I didn't have much hair back then, and it was so nice to have a long flowing locks of hair.
Welcome to
Yeah,
my
like
world.
you. There you go. I love it. I love it.
Should have
That's not
seen it
my
back in
world.
high school.
I bet. I bet. Yeah.
so,
So it was really
so
cool to do flashbacks and stuff like that.
So was cooking always like a big thing of yours before doing the show? Because you seem to really know what you were doing in a lot of those scenes.
That's a great question. Yeah, cooking is a huge part of my life. My wife had a show on the Food Network for many years. My mother,
Oh,
yeah, my mother's an amazing cook. On her own, Italian. We're Italian. I'm 3/4 Italian, 1/4 Irish, and so food in my family is huge. My older daughter for her senior project in high school, did a cookbook of our family recipes, and yeah, I've been around the kitchen my whole life for sure.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big
That's,
part.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So after Raven, you also got to appear on another Disney series besides Corey in the House, Casey Undercover with Zendaya.
Yeah, yeah, that was super cool. You know who loved that the most? My daughters.
Really?
They love that I got that show, and especially my youngest daughter, Georgia. I brought her to set, and she was like in heaven, absolutely in heaven. So we would go around, and I was shooting the show, and she got to meet Zendaya. She got to meet the whole cast, and she loved that show. It was one of her favorite shows. And so we have pictures of her with then Zendaya and all the cast members. It was really, really great. They were very excited. Of course, I was excited too.
Mm-hmm.
And now look where Zendaya is. She's just, taking over the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I,
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Zendaya did another Disney show called Shake It Up. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Of course,
They
yes.
did. There was one episode where what's her name? The actress who did Chelsea, Annalisa Vanderpool,
Yeah.
came back and did. It wasn't a Raven reunion, but it was. She was playing a character who was on the Shake It Up series within their world, who was coming
Mm,
back to dance with Bella Thorne and Zendaya on the show.
right, right. I didn't see that episode. That's pretty cool.
It's on.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have Disney Plus? Because it's there.
Of course. I mean, who doesn't have Disney Plus, right? I have
Yeah,
to have
fair
it
point.
with all my daughters and all the Star Wars and all that. We have to have Disney Plus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another person who you got to work with on That's So Raven was the guy who did Stanley, whose name I can't remember. Bobby J. Thompson, I think. Or
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I was thinking about that episode where Leonard's copying Victor's idea of having a restaurant and literally is basically doing everything. Like they got Corey to and his band, and then it's like, oh, you
Yep.
want to come and see my band? Oh, great, you copied that idea too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that, and you were saying on the episode, I've never seen a kid with that much talent, and that kid does have a lot of talent in that
Yes,
episode.
absolutely.
If
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
he's a little bit just as snarky as Leonard too.
yeah. No, it was really fun, and I love the character of Leonard Stevenson because people will say he's a bad guy, but I just think he's misunderstood.
He's
That's all.
not a bad guy. He's just a little bit of a hole.
Yeah, a little bit, but
Mhm.
he always lands on his feet, and that's always fun to see, right?
Mhm.
'Cause
As we
even after he lost the chef, in the first episode, he comes back and he's still doing great. And even at the end of that episode, two models come in and he puts his arm around him and then he
and I'm
walks away.
having my
You
own
know what I
cooking
mean?
show in
That's
Hawaii.
right. That's right.
And
Exactly.
he comes back in Raven's home, and it's established that the Hill Grill still exists, which
That's right.
surprises me.
Wasn't it wild? I thought that too. When I saw that, when the writers put that in, I thought that was hysterical. I was like, oh, I guess it's doing pretty well, the Hill Grill.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving on from Disney Channel, you were in my very favorite episode of Modern Family.
Is that your favorite episode? That's awesome.
Well, it's funny because I had seen it advertised, and I was like, this looks like an amusing show. And I was watching TV in my room. I came downstairs to get a snack, and my parents are like, hey, James, we're watching this show called Modern Family. You want to watch it with us? I was like, I better shut off the TV in my room then, because this looks amusing. And the episode that was on was that particular episode. And
Is that right?
Yeah, for any of the listeners who don't know what it is, well, a lot of you guys have probably seen Modern Family because it's like one of the most popular shows in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But Haley, the oldest daughter, was arrested, and it's not established at the beginning of the episode why. It's just Haley got arrested and could get kicked out of college, and then Haley explains, okay, so I was underage drinking, which was my fault. And by accident, I injured an officer, and I was taken in for assaulting a police officer. And James's character was the head of admissions, while Haley was having a disciplinary hearing to determine whether or not her actions get her kicked out of school.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was also really a really fun time, having all those actors in that room too. Because sometimes you do these shows and you don't act with the main characters or a lot of the main characters. You'll be ancillary, or you'll be, as a journeyman actor, you go in and but in that episode, they were all right there, and it was so fun to interact with them.
Mm-hmm. So like even all the actors who weren't in that scene, like Ed O'Neill and Sofia Vergara, were they all there like watching all of this happen?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not watching, but they're setting up for their next scene. And we all took a van, we took a van together from hair and makeup to the studio, to whatever studio they were shooting at. So we all hung out, and it was great. Yeah.
Nice.
And hanging out with Ty Burrell, this is interesting because and I haven't told this story before, but I auditioned for Phil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I got to meet produce. I got to the producers part of that audition. There's a process of auditioning, and you climb up the ladder. And it was really interesting because sometimes you see a role and you see a person, and you're like, because it was amazing, right? Even the audition sides were hysterical. And you're like, this is unbelievable. And of course, the producers are, and the people who created it are incredible. The show's going to go. And then when you see the person who actually got it, so I didn't get it. Clearly, I didn't get it. But when you see Ty Burrell do it, you go, oh, of course. You know what I mean? You go, of course he got that. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Like, I see where they were going, and I see what they wanted, and he's incredible at it. So I sometimes you see a role and you think you're still right for it, and I thought I was right for that role, but it wasn't what they were looking for. And you got to tip your hat and go, way to go, Ty. Amazing. And he was a super nice guy on set. Super nice guy.
Does Ty know that you both auditioned for it? Like,
I think I told him that story actually. Okay. And he told me the story about how he got it and how he was invited to a barbecue at Christopher's house, and they told him after these rounds of auditions, hey, do you want to play the role? And he's like, yes. And it's a life-changing role. That's the beauty of this business, is that can happen at any moment. Mm-hmm. And that life-changing role can come down the pike. So that was the one for him. And it was a great story. Of course, he elaborated it so much more, but it was really cool to hear him tell it.
Well, it was nice to see you in that particular episode, especially with that one being my very favorite.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, It was really good. It's also my daughter's favorite episodes of.
I feel like your daughter and I would get along very well.
I know. I think so. The same taste. Yeah.
So you were in another show that I love. You were in a lot of shows I love. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But one that my very best friend and I love a lot. She's actually the one who introduced it to me. Two Broke Girls.
Yes.
Yeah. She. Well, I saw a promo for it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks funny." And actually, the first ever episode that I watched, I taped it to my DVR, was the one that you were in.
Again?
Yeah.
Get out of town, James. This is incredible. This is kismet. This is meant to be.
I know. I texted my best friend. I've been watching Two Broke Girls. She's like, "When did you get introduced to that?" I was like, "Oh, just yesterday. Actually, I started watching this show. I just randomly saw it, and I was like, this is funny." And she and I love watching it together. She lives in another country, so when she's here, we usually watch it together. One time, my dad saw it on a TV guide, and it was after my best friend went back overseas. And my dad's like, "Hey, James, look what's on." I'm like, cool. Turn it off. It makes me miss her too much.
That's honest.
Yeah. So what was it like to be on that show?
Oh, it was really it was great. Again, sitcoms, was that live? That was a live studio audience.
Yeah.
One of the things that made me it was awesome because I played a very wealthy person.
Oh
And
yeah.
usually when you play a very wealthy person, you get like, and this happened on this episode too. I was in an Armani suit with, incredible cufflinks and $500 shoes. And it's so nice. I mean, that's not my life. Look at me. I'm sorry I didn't get dressed up. I just came from the vets.
No, that's okay.
But yeah,
I'm wearing a Toy Story shirt.
yeah, there you go. So it's just so nice, and the custom fit, and they make because you need to scream, "I'm really very, very wealthy." And they did it, and the suit was amazing. And sometimes
wealthy and also kind
they
of
let you,
snobbish.
well, very snobbish. I mean,
Yeah.
can you tell I have like a little theme going on here in my career? But yeah,
With between Leonard and that guy on Two Broke Girls. Yeah.
that's right. Exactly. And Modern Family, a little snobby director of admissions. But
I didn't think of that
they
character as
sometimes
snobby. I thought that character is more of authoritative.
authoritative and just done with these kids. I mean, his feeling was like, "Oh my God, please, well, all right, what happened?" That kind of thing. But they sometimes let you take the suit, right? If it's so custom fit to you, sometimes they let you have it, or they'll sell it to you for very, very cheap. Not this time. It was too nice. I was like, darn it.
Crap.
But the guy, and is it Disney? I think it was a Disney connection. The director of that, and maybe you have it in your notes, but the director of that was also on a Disney show from years before, Zach and Cody. He was
Phil
the
Lewis.
butler. Yes, Phil Lewis was the director. Super nice guy. Really, really great. And one of the things I loved about him was he let us play. He let us just play. And because sometimes you can just, writers write the words that they want you to say. But sometimes you can talk to them. Sometimes you add something in a couple of run-throughs or rehearsals or something, and they might hook up on it, right? And he really let us play, which was great. Sadly, they didn't use that stuff, but it was really fun on the day to just play around with the actors. And they were all so brilliant. They're all so funny, right? And I just loved playing around. And Phil was very amenable to having us do that, which was really neat.
It would have been funny to see your character on Raven going to the Boston Tipton, because Raven did a crossover with Sweet Life. But it would have been funny to see because they did one episode where a food critic was coming to the Tipton.
They missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, to have Captain Cook-Off.
Yeah.
Challenge the chef in the Tipton kitchen.
It was so funny because I was saying that Rondell and I got close in those shooting those episodes, and he wanted me to be around a lot. He kept pitching to the writers like, shouldn't we bring him back? Now, for me as an actor, especially a journeyman actor, what I want is consistent work. I just want to be consistently working. And he just saw how well we played together, and that's why I think they got me over to Corey in the House, because he was an advocate for me, because it was I was his foil, right? We could really play off each other, and it was just so incredible to do that.
Did you hear that they're doing another Raven series?
No. Oh, which one is that?
So
what spin-off is that?
So Raven's Home has now come to an end, and they're doing a spin-off with Victor's granddaughter, Alice. And the name is very similar to Corey in the House, Alice in the Palace.
That's funny. Is Rondell in it? Do you know?
I'm not sure if Rondell is in it. That's a good question, actually. So far, it's just been announced they're doing the spinoff with that character.
So she was very talented. What's the actress's name? I can't remember her name.
I can't remember it either. I'll Google it.
The one who played Alice, right?
Yeah,
you could tell on set when we were working that she was a rising star for sure. And it was interesting because they were thinking she might not stick around because she was so talented, but
Oh.
clearly they offered her her own series, and that's what got her to stick around. Super smart girl, very talented girl.
Mm. They did an episode. This is why it's called Alice in the Palace, where they all went to England, Buckingham Palace,
Ah,
and they found basically a doppelganger of Alice. So it's about her adventures in London.
wow, that's
That's
cool.
certainly is more classy than being the president's chef.
That's true. That's very
I mean,
true.
I don't know a lot about these things.
Yeah.
Michelle Harris, that's her name.
Yeah, that's great. Good looking up. Good job, James.
Mhm. So you also got to be in a couple of episodes of another series that is not for children, True Blood.
Oh, yes.
And that's a
Yes. Have
little
you
bit
seen
different.
those?
I have to be honest, I've never seen True Blood.
Can I be
HB,
honest too? I've
go
never
ahead.
seen it.
Well, HBO is available here in Canada, but we don't
Hmm.
have access to it.
Oh, okay. Well, I've literally never seen like a lot. I've never seen a lot of the stuff that I've done,
Yeah,
and
I've
I've
heard that
never
a
seen
lot
those
from actors.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just actors are so maybe not. I mean, I can't generalize, but a lot of actors that I know are all about what's my next job. What's
Right.
my next job? And when it's on, because I actually got when I first started out in the business. Oh, this is it. Law and Order. That was the very first job I did in New York City. The very
Mhm.
first paying acting on TV gig was Law and Order.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, but and it was on, and I got it. I did it. It was amazing. And I had a party at my house, and everybody came to my house, and I'm like, here it is, and the show starts going. And when my part was supposed to be, it just kept going without me in it. And they went bad.
Oh,
I got cut.
damn.
And I had this party at my house, and everyone was there, and nobody knew it except me because I knew where I was supposed to be. And I had to swallow a little pride and just go, hey guys, I got to tell you, they went by my spot and I am not there. So I got cut. And
Mm,
my friends were very nice. And they're like, oh, gave me hugs and gave me drinks. So
mm. I
yeah.
was once on a series as an extra, and I was able to identify myself when I was watching it. I wasn't sure when it was going to air. I'm just like, yeah, just tape it just in case. And I told
Yeah.
my friends, I don't know which one. I did two of them. I knew I was in the last ever episode, but the one before
Hmm.
it, I didn't know when that was going to air. So I'm just like, just maybe just tape it or watch it just in case, and I'll point it out. And a couple of my friends were like, "We didn't think we'd see you." So, and I was like, "I saw it last night. I saw me."
Really? And
Yeah,
you were able to find yourself?
I remembered the very line that I went in on. I remembered waiting on my cue. As soon as they heard that line, it's like, "Go, go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go, go, go."
I remember when I first started out too. And when you first start out, you do anything to get on a set. Because I trained at a very prestigious acting school for
Mm-hmm.
4 years and trained in many, many classical theater and Shakespeare and all that stuff. But when you get out, you just need to be on set because you do your next level of learning on set. I teach now. I teach voice training for actors. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Finding Your Authentic Voice. And a lot of guys, a lot of people who come to me are very young in this business and they're taking acting classes and they're training. But I say to them, as one of my students I was training yesterday, you got to be on set. You've done enough schooling. You need to be in the real world. So I recommend to people too, be an extra, just get yourself in front of the camera. And when I was very young and first starting out, I patented what I called the Jim McCauley lean. So if I would be in a scene and I'd be an extra and I would slowly lean into camera so that they would see me, it was really fun
It's a
and
great
funny.
way to get recognition right
Get
away.
recognized, just kind of lean in there, it was really
Hmm.
fun.
So with True Blood and Law and Order, those are
Yeah.
more serious shows than a lot of these other ones that we've been talking about. What's the bigger difference for you when doing shows like that?
Doing those big dramas.
Yeah.
Um, what's so interesting? I'm not going to name names because
Okay.
I don't want to out them, but the best roles usually in those shows are the guest stars. And when I was doing another one of those big shows, uh, the stars of the show, they were done. This was just 4 years into it. They were done. Or 5 years into it, they were like, "I'm done. I'm just going through the motions now." right? But the guest stars come in and they're the ones who've murdered somebody, or they're the ones who got blah, blah, blah. Like, we have all the juice. And that is really fun. When I did Criminal Minds, no, when I did, Criminal Minds, like, the eyes have it where there's a guy who would kill people and take the eyeballs, and like, that's really fun. We got to train with weapons, because I was going in with a weapon. Like, that's super, super cool. So those shows for me are really, really hang on the guest stars and what they can bring to that. And that I find really fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm ready to be a series regular on any of those letter shows, NCIS and CSI and all that stuff. But they also have been doing it for so long that it's such a well-oiled machine that you have to find your way. And once you're in, and you're in this well-oiled machine. I do remember auditioning for, let me tell you this one. I remember auditioning for Law and Order SVU, because when you're in New York, and this is when I was in New York, you do all the Law and Orders, right? And you audition many times. And I went into the audition room and there were 5 guys in front of me. And I went to go to the sign-in sheet. And when I went to the sign-in sheet, nobody had signed in. And I look around and there's 5 guys there. And I was like, what is going on? Oh, they don't want to be first. So I signed my name, and then I went to sat down, and they all went up and rushed and signed their name. And I was like, they didn't want to be
good influence.
first. Yeah. And so then I went into the audition. This is how I made them cast me. I went into the audition like, hey, James, how you doing today? I'm like, I'm good. I was like, I have a question for you. Does the first person who audition never get the role? And they were like, what? I said, I was in there, and there were 5 guys in front of me, but nobody signed in because they didn't want to be first. Am I never going to get this role because I'm first? They're like, well, no. I mean, it doesn't happen that. I mean, no. I mean, and I got them on their heels, and I got the job.
That's
a good way to
talk them into getting a job. Exactly.
I love that. I actually knew somebody who, it's funny you mentioned Law and Order and all those Law and Orders. I actually knew somebody who was a semi-regular on Law and Order, who also was a main cast member on Sesame Street because they were done in the same studio. Emilio Delgado, who played Luis on Sesame Street.
Oh, cool.
He did a couple of characters on Law and Order. My father's a huge Law and Order fan.
Is that right?
I think he's watched at least all of them 5 times. And he was watching it one day and he's like, hey, James, look who's on. And I see Emilio Delgado. And I messaged him. I was like, hey, I'm seeing you with my father on Law and Order.
That's awesome. That's great.
Emilio unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
That's too bad.
He was a good guy. He was a really good guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Going back to the comedies, you were also on According to Jim. With,
yes, I remember that one.
What was that like to work with like Jim Belushi and all those guys?
It was great. It was also I happened to live. It was shot at CBS Radford, which is a studio out here, a CBS studio out here. And not only it's an ABC show, but CBS owns and they rent the studios out to whoever's going to pay them the money. Right. But it happened to be right around the corner from my house. Literally, my house was behind the studio. Ooh. So it was a great commute. I loved it. And he was very funny. And again, that was a very well-oiled machine, and everybody was trying to find the funny, because you come in with sitcoms and it's just this first incarnation of the script, and that's on Monday. And then by the time you start shooting on Friday, or maybe Saturday, sometimes Thursday, depending on what their schedule is, it's a different script, completely different script. And what I love about sitcoms especially is, and this happens to be my wheelhouse. Some writer will be like, oh my God, on the day in front of an audience, they'll go, oh my God, I have a better line. Can you say blah, 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 blah? Like, yes. And they change it right then and there in front of the studio audience. And can you do it? That's what these young actors have a hard time doing at this moment, being quick enough to go, oh my God, you made me think of something. Don't go over there, go over here and say this. Okay, action, go. And young actors would be like, okay. But that part of the training and part of what you need to do, why do you need to go to school or take an acting class or an audition class, is because you need to be ready to go at any moment.
Yeah, you always have to be ready for stuff like that, like when they get new ideas.
That they throw at you. New idea, they're going to throw it at you. They'll even shout it from behind the camera. Oh my gosh, say go this way this time and action. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
on
okay.
the first show I ever worked on, the same thing happened to me. I volunteered to voice this animated character that was a ghost, and I had a very ominous sound for it to sound like a ghost. And then they sound tested me. They wanted me to do the ghost voice for the sound test, but they didn't tell me that, and I did an impression of Judge Judy. And the
That's
producers,
quite different.
yeah, well, they didn't say do the ghost voice. They just said
Right.
talking to the mic.
Yeah.
So they were like, do that. I'm like, I'm not doing Judge Judy to play this character. They wouldn't let me do anything else. And
That's hysterical.
the producer was like, put in as many. You're really good at doing that. Put in as many things as you can do that you think Judge Judy would say. I was like, for a ghost, okay. So when they were finished, I ad libbed perfect, which is what Judge Judy says. Like, do we understand each other, sir? Yes, ma'am. Perfect. You also come from Arizona. You can walk home because we have your ticket to go home. So I hope you like Los Angeles. Now, do we understand each other better? Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
they have never let me hear the end of it ever since.
That's fun though that you did that. How long ago was that?
That would have been 2021. So I had just gotten out of college, started my career in film. I had two gigs actually. I was working at a rental facility for film equipment that were
Mhm.
going
Yep.
to and from set. And then
Awesome.
my buddy who works at this animation studio said to me, "We're doing a project. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of have this other job right now. The answer is yes, but
Right.
I'd
That's a
like
good
to
answer.
I'd like to try to work it out so that I can still work with you guys and still keep doing this job I have regularly."
Right.
So I only worked on that show one day a week,
Mhm.
which worked out for the best. It was a short form series, so it was nothing totally major.
But
Uh,
I love that you put yourself in the place of being in the business, right? That's what a lot of young actors are don't really understand because you can get your big break in a lot of different ways, right? Yes, you can do a traditional I am auditioning for this role, but you can do things like a podcast or working at a rental company or whatever. Just being in the ancillary entertainment business to make your way in is really, really smart.
yeah,
That's what
it's
I tell my young students when they come to train with me. I tell them do anything you can in the business. Go be a PA, right? You learn so much about the film and TV industry when you're a PA. You learn it from the other side. Go volunteer to be a reader at a casting office, right? What an incredible gift it is to be on the other side of the table and watch these actors come in and go, "Oh, he crushed it," or "Wow, he was so nervous." That's really interesting, right? You learn by being around all of it. And my young students really need to benefit. I just keep preaching it. That's all.
It's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
on one of the shows I worked on where I was a behind the scenes person, I remember we were on set rearranging set pieces while they were filming, and we were told just keep it quiet because they can hear us. But it's so weird. We couldn't hear them.
Really?
I guess that's how good they are at their job.
Yeah. 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 Those mics are powerful.
They really are.
Pick up the smallest little voice.
hmm
Yeah.
So you also were in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was
Alongside
fun with
of
Bryan
Frankie,
Cranston.
yeah, Brian Muniz, Brian Cranston, Frankie
Cranston.
Muniz, yeah.
Yeah. That was fun too. That was at the same studio that, according to Jim, was filmed at. So it was
Oh
right around
wow,
the corner from my house, and
that's very
it was
lucky.
good. It was good. Well, you come to LA and you want to be in the mix, right? And you want to be in the center of things. So I moved to Studio City, and that is you're within striking distance of a lot of studios, and one happens to be right next door. And when you get those, even when I got those auditions, I just walked to the audition. And in LA, nobody walks. So it was really awesome. Yeah, that was a great one as well. And a young Bryan Cranston, it was really cool.
And of course, the one and only Frankie Muniz as well.
Yes, of course, of course. Yeah,
Mhm.
College Recruiters, that episode was called. College Recruiters. Yeah.
And you also were, I checked IMDb, and I've had guests in the past complain about IMDb.
Oh,
I had one person on here
why?
whose name, I had a guest on here whose name was Laura Faye Smith. She does Rosalina for Mario, and she was on IMDb, was credited for that movie where Tom Hanks is doing Mr. Rogers. So I asked her
Is that
about it.
right?
I asked her about it. She's like, I don't know where that came from. I'm not in that.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
another actor I had on, his name is Katie Von Till. She does Snow White for Disney. She was
Hmm.
credited on IMDb for being in Two Broke Girls, and she's like, IMDb is full of lies.
You know, I think there is one on mine from the very early on
Okay.
that I haven't done, but I think it's pretty spot on for me. But yeah, it can be a crapshoot for sure.
Well, then let me know if this is accurate.
Let's see.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes, that was me for
Okay.
sure.
I went to that in the
London
theater when
Calling.
it came
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
So I play air traffic controller.
Hmm.
Although when
Oh
I got it,
yeah, that's right.
I
I remember
told,
recognizing you actually.
yeah, when I got it, of course, I told my daughters I was playing Spider-Man, but I couldn't fit in the outfit. So I couldn't get the role because I couldn't fit myself in the outfit. But that was incredible. It was shot out in Long Island at this old jet manufacturing facility, and the sets on this thing were I've never seen sets like that in my life. And I've shot all over the world. I've shot in London. I've shot, Pinewood Studios and amazing stuff, right? But this was I've never seen sets like this before. It was incredible. And then something it was really interesting. So I play this air traffic controller with headset and a big screen in front of me, with the green thing, boop, boop, it goes around the whole
Yep.
thing. And I was talking to the production designer and I was talking to the technical advisor. And when we shot that, no screens like that exist anymore. He's like, it's all iPads now. But the production designer said, yeah, but nothing screams air traffic control room more than a big screen with the green thing going around going boop, 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 right?
Hmm.
So they had to put it in, even though that was way outdated, antique technology, they put it in there. Yeah, and it was wild to do it, and the smoke coming in and trying to save Spider-Man, and it was really great. Of course, I thought the whole movie was about the air traffic controller. For me, it was. For me, it was.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I do remember my daughters. They were young at the time, and we went to see it in the theater, and it was a little too loud for them.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean,
I
it's
actually had
a
to take them out of the theater when in the beginning when they do the killing of the parents thing, and yeah, it was a
yeah, I
little
mean,
much.
it's a high budget action movie. I mean, that's a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
different than most of
yeah,
the stuff that we've been talking about. Like, it's different than
yes,
doing an awful chef. It's different than doing um a snobby rich guy
right,
who basically judges Beth Burz's character because her father's in prison for a Ponzi scheme.
right, right,
Can't
right,
judge
exactly.
her for that. It's not her fault. Mhm.
Yeah, it was
Or an
absolutely
admissions
different.
manager. Yeah.
Exactly, it was very different in just the scale. That's what I was saying. The sets were just unbelievable, and I knew they were gonna green screen around it, but what they built in front of the green screen was outrageous. It was no, it was who was Willem Dafoe's character?
Oh, Osborne.
Yeah, his lair or whatever. It was just unbelievable. Yeah, and just the size of the production was amazing.
Yeah, that
And I
was
love it. And that's no mistake. I was actually in that multiple scenes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that was really a great film.
I agree. I thought it was really good. I thought Andrew
Yeah.
Garfield, I liked him as Spider-Man too. I
Yeah,
think he
he
got a
and
good
Tom Holland
character.
really my father's not a lover of the Tobey Maguire franchise of
Oh, is that
Spider.
right?
My father is a big superhero kind of a guy.
Yeah.
Um Now I'd love to see Leonard Stevenson meeting my dad because they have Captain Cook Off with my father because
That would be hysterical.
my dad has a smoker in our backyard and a griddle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
So he's
beat that,
taking it
Leonard.
seriously. That's right.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I asked my dad because I knew that the reviews for Amazing Spider-Man 2 were crappy, and I looked at my dad and I was like, "So is this better than the last one?" He's like, "Yeah, it is." And then we see, not that we didn't like Andrew Garfield, but then we see Tom Holland,
Yeah.
who really plays Spider-Man like a kid, and
Yeah.
that's who Spider-Man is.
Absolutely.
He's a kid.
He's incredible. I think
He really is the Amazing Spider-Man.
he really is. He embodies it for sure. I totally
Hmm.
agree. But I did like Andrew Garfield. I thought he brought a lot of good things to the character.
He really did. Yeah.
I didn't work with him because I was alone in a studio in the middle of Long Island with smoke coming out with a headset trying to say, pull up, pull up, pull up.
Well, that's all I've got here. Is there anything else you want to say to wrap up?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad I was in some things that in nostalgia talk brought you some joy. And yeah, no, I just really appreciate it. And I'm looking, I Google it a little bit on YouTube, but I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of your episodes. 89, that's amazing.
Well,
Congratulations.
next up is episode number 90. And
Woo!
there's some really, really big things coming up. I
Is
actually
that
just
right?
some that I can't publicly talk about yet because they haven't been announced yet, but all you listeners know where to go. Facebook and Twitter. Links will be in the description if you want to keep up with who's coming. But you guys already know this. Corey Burton will be coming on Nostalgia Talk. Corey is a voice actor he's basically a one-man show at Disney. He's done Captain
Wow.
Hook, Dale, Ludwig von Drake,
Woo!
Grumpy the Dwarf, Count Dooku in Star Wars: The Clone Wars,
Wow.
Mad Hatter, White Rabbit, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Doc Hudson in video games for cars, and a lot of voices for the Disney parks, and also a lot of announcers for Disney as well. Corey is an absolute legend, so that's coming up as well as a lot of other big things. Stay tuned for that, and I will see you next time. Peace out.
Bye, everybody.